The shrill whine of a store alarm cut through the mall like a knife through quiet. It wasn't loud at first, just sharp enough to turn a few heads. But as the flashing red lights over Soul Vault, the trendy sneaker store, began to strobe like warning signals, the atmosphere turned. Security guards burst out of the small office near the food court, radios crackling, sneakers pounding against the polished tile. All eyes landed on a boy. 17-year-old Malik Carter was halfway down the corridor, hoodie unzipped, palms facing outward in a confused, frozen stance. His brown eyes were wide, his breathing shallow. "I didn't take anything," he yelled, the words coming out too fast. But no one paused to hear him. One of the guards lunged forward, wrapping an arm around Malik's waist, taking him down hard. Another grabbed his shoulder. Malik hit the floor, face first, knees scraping tile, phone clattering across the hallway. Gasps rippled around the corridor. A woman filming with her phone muttered, "He didn't do anything." Within seconds, a crowd gathered. Some shouted, some simply stared, and someone whispered the words that would follow Malik for the next 48 hours. He was stealing sneakers. Malik Carter was no stranger to Crestwood Mall. He'd been there dozens of times, sometimes with friends, sometimes alone. That day, he had come with $250 in birthday money, a card from his aunt, and a list in his notes app. New sneakers, socks, maybe a small gift for his younger brother. Malik was in his junior year at Lincoln High. AP classes, National Honor Society, newspaper club, no criminal record, barely even a late homework slip. When he was dragged through the food court in handcuffs, a half-eaten pretzel dropped from a nearby table. Two little kids pointed at him. A man muttered, "Typical." It didn't matter that Malik's debit card was still in his pocket and used. It didn't matter that no one had stopped to ask him a single question. It didn't matter that he never left the store with a bag in hand. What mattered at that moment was that a black teen had exited a store and an alarm had gone off, and someone had decided that meant he was guilty. At 5:12 p.m., Crestwood Mall released a brief statement. This afternoon, a shoplifting suspect was detained by mall security. Due to the serious nature of the allegation, local police were called. "We are cooperating fully and reviewing footage from our state-of-the-art surveillance system." Local media picked up the story quickly. By 6 p.m., the video of Malik being taken down had 14,000 views on Twitter. By 7:30 p.m., the hashtag Justice for Malik was trending across Georgia. Malik's mother, Tanya Carter, a registered nurse at Eastview Medical, arrived at the precinct while still in her scrubs. She wasn't crying when she got there. She was shaking. "My son has never stolen anything in his life," she said through clenched teeth. "He was going to buy those shoes with his money, and they didn't even let him speak." In an interview later that night, she added, "They didn't see a boy, they saw a suspect." Crestwood, Georgia, wasn't a city known for protests or headlines. It was suburban, middle-income, politically mixed. But under the surface, it had simmered for years. In 2021, a Latino teen named Diego Ramos was detained for acting suspiciously in a department store. Turned out he was waiting for his mom outside a changing room. The apology came late and felt hollow. Local Black and Latino families remembered. Tensions had never fully settled. And now, here it was again, another teen of color, another accusation, another takedown. But this time, it was caught on camera. And this time, there was surveillance footage. Real footage, unedited. It took nearly 36 hours for investigators to review all 5 angles of the mall surveillance. The footage covered not just Soul Vault, but the corridor outside, the parking lot, and the entrance to the west wing of the mall. The store's internal cameras showed Malik browsing. He held 2 boxes of sneakers. He examined them, checked price tags. At one point, he sat on a bench and tried one on. He pulled out his phone, possibly checking his bank account. Then he boxed them back up, placed them on the shelf, and walked out. No shoes in hand, no socks, no bags, nothing in his hoodie. But in the background of the same footage, something else appeared. A middle-aged white man, thin, balding, in jeans and a blue windbreaker, browsing quietly. At 4:13 p.m., he picked up a store bag behind the counter. At 4:14, he slipped something into it. No one stopped him. He walked out, unnoticed. A different camera, outside the store, captured him turning the corner, heading for the west exit. In the parking lot camera, the man opened the trunk of a gray Nissan Altima and placed the bag inside. The last clear image was a partial plate, and the edge of his face. Facial recognition software used by mall security flagged Malik as a match, based on a facial database tied to an unrelated incident 3 years prior. An incident involving someone with the same last name. But Malik had never been in the system. His photo was never even taken. Later, it was revealed that the software used had a documented error rate of over 40% for people of color. The mall had installed it just 6 months earlier, pushed by a security consultant with no prior civil rights training. The guards who tackled Malik admitted they never saw an item in his hands. They responded based on a radioed report from the store's assistant manager, who had only guessed that he'd taken something. By the time Malik was released, his name was national. Civil rights lawyers showed up at the family's door. Local activists began organizing outside the mall. One sign read, $2.50 in his pocket, a knee in his back. Malik Carter sat at the kitchen table, untouched toast in front of him, staring at the floor. His younger brother, Jordan, peeked out from the hallway but didn't come in. No one in the house slept much that night. His mother, Tanya, was already on the phone with a civil rights attorney from Atlanta. News vans had parked down the street. Reporters were circling like vultures. But Malik didn't care about any of that. He kept replaying it in his head. The tackle, the way everyone looked at him like he had to be guilty, the way no one asked why. Then came the knock at the door. Detective Marissa Bell of the Crestwood PD wasn't there for an arrest. She was there for the truth. And she'd seen something in the surveillance footage that hadn't been released to the public. Something the mall security team had either missed or ignored. Detective Bell had been with the force for 14 years. She knew what a real theft looked like, and the footage didn't sit right with her. "We keep watching Malik," she told her partner, "but no one's watching him." She was referring to the white man in the blue windbreaker, the man in the background, the one slipping out with a store bag. Unpaid for, unbothered, unnoticed. They ran the partial license plate from the parking lot footage, came back to a Gregory Vaughn, age 39. No criminal history, no warrants. A warehouse worker at a shipping facility 15 miles away. But something about Vaughn was off. Over the past 6 months, 5 different stores in Crestwood Mall had reported minor thefts. Socks, belts, a cologne bottle. All low value. All unsolved. Security assumed it was teenage shoplifters. But Detective Bell noticed the pattern. All thefts occurred on weekdays between 4 and 5 p.m., and in every case, the stolen items had been small enough to fit in a bag. On April 14th, Bell returned to the mall, but this time not alone. Plainclothes officers blended into the food court. One officer posed as a janitor. Another, pretending to shop, hung out near Soul Vault. They weren't looking for Malik this time. They were looking for the man in the windbreaker, and at 4:06 p.m., he returned. Same blue jacket, same casual stroll, same disinterested gaze. Vaughn entered Soul Vault, wandered to the back wall, and grabbed a pair of socks and a shirt. He walked toward the counter, but instead of paying, he paused, looked around, and stepped behind the display case. He reached under the counter, where employees kept store bags. This time, he took 2, and slipped both items into one of them. That's when Officer Ramirez radioed, "We got him. He's doing it again." But Detective Bell held them off. "Let him walk," she said, because this time, they wanted everything on camera. Vaughn left the store at 4:18 p.m., almost the exact same minute Malik had been tackled 2 days earlier. As he exited through the West Wing, he stopped at the vending machine, calm, casually drinking from a bottle of water he'd just bought. That's when 2 uniformed officers approached. "Mr. Vaughn, can we speak with you for a moment?" He smiled, confused. About what? When they opened the bag, his face changed. His smile vanished. Within minutes, Vaughn was in handcuffs. He was charged with shoplifting, tampering with retail property, and deceptive conduct. But the real shock came later, when detectives searched his car. Inside the trunk were 3 additional bags from various stores, still containing tags. Receipts peeled off, stolen merchandise worth over $900. It was enough to file a pattern of theft case, and it wasn't his first time doing it. When questioned, Vaughn said something that stunned even the detectives. "I don't steal, I just borrow things." Then, under pressure, "They're insured, no one gets hurt." But there was more. He admitted to stealing the socks the same day Malik had been arrested. "I saw the kid. I figured he'd draw their attention." "Did you mean for him to take the fall?" the detective asked. "No, I knew they'd pick him over me." He laughed when he said it. It wasn't an accident. It was a calculated move. Vaughn had learned over time that if he blended in and let someone else fit the profile, he'd go unnoticed. He wasn't just a thief. He was weaponizing racial bias. The charges against Malik Carter were formally dropped on April 15th. The next day, the Carter family held a press conference with their attorney. Malik stood in front of the cameras, shoulders stiff, voice clear. "I didn't steal anything, but they treated me like I did because of how I look." His words were shared thousands of times. Interviews followed. News outlets from Atlanta to New York picked up the story. And Crestwood Mall? Their security chief was quietly reassigned. The facial recognition system was temporarily suspended, and the mall issued a public apology. But for Malik, the real relief didn't come from a statement. It came from hearing the word innocent in court, from knowing the truth had caught up to the lie. Gregory Vaughn pleaded guilty to multiple counts of theft. He received 18 months probation and was banned from Crestwood Mall for 5 years. His employer quietly terminated him. Malik Carter finished his junior year with a 4.2 GPA. He's since started a blog, writing about justice, bias, and what it's like to be profiled at 17. In one of his posts, he wrote, "The scariest part wasn't being tackled. It was knowing that no one stopped to ask if they were wrong. They just saw me and decided I fit the part." Malik didn't want to be a symbol, but he became one anyway, for truth, for accountability, for every teen who's been watched a little too closely for doing nothing at all.